All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little Golden State Warrior update as the Warriors have been active in free agency. We'll talk a little Warriors coming up next. First, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Get some brisket chili. Go say hi to Damon and Mary and tell them that Krug sent you. And this video is also brought to you by Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles, 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove along the Monterey Peninsula. Call my good friend Anthony Catania. He's at 831-521-5264. Well, it is official. Klay Thompson is no longer a Golden State Warrior. The free agent swingman has joined the Dallas Mavericks. It's a 3-year, $50 million deal with a player option. Thompson ends his historic Warrior run as part of a multi-team sign-and-trade deal that will also send Josh Green to Charlotte from Dallas. The Warriors will acquire a trade exception from Charlotte, plus a second-round pick from the Hornets. Now, the Lakers offered Klay Thompson $20 million a year, but they proposed a sign-and-trade with the Warriors that would have sent D'Angelo Russell, back to the Warriors. And the Warriors have already had D'Lo. They wanted no part of that, and they declined, according to Chris Haynes. So it's the end of an era. And one of the most dominating trios that we've ever seen in the Bay Area has been dismantled. And together, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green won 4 titles together, tied with Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker for the most titles by an all-NBA trio over the last 50 seasons. These guys need to be applauded for what they got done here. They made 6 finals together, the most by any trio. And each one of them made All-NBA at least once over the last 50 seasons. So what can you say? Just a great run. Now, the Warriors have pivoted. They're trying to acquire Lauri Markkanen from the Utah Jazz, according to Woj, in a deal and a trade that's probably going to send Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga and draft picks to the Jazz for Markkanen. I would probably do that deal. I don't like the idea of trading Kuminga, but for Markkanen, I would do it. Why? Because Markkanen is a 7-footer who's an all-star, who's a 27-year-old player. He's still got a lot of prime left. He's an all-star. He's an all-star big man who I think would fit in perfectly with Golden State. So I think Kuminga long-term has a higher upside, but I think there's a very good chance that Markkanen could help the Golden State make the playoffs. And if they get in the playoffs, anything could happen with Steph Curry. So I'd love to see the Warriors get Markkanen. I don't want to trade Jonathan Kuminga, but I would trade him for Lauri Markkanen. The other move today is that free agent DeAnthony Melton is going to sign a 1-year, $12.8 million deal to come to the Warriors, according to The Athletic. Now, DeAnthony Melton on the mid, comes to the Warriors on the mid-level for one season. It gives them backcourt depth and a little boost on defense. To me, it's always about this kid's back injury. If his back's healthy, he's good. The Warriors have always liked his game. They felt like he was underutilized by Memphis in that second-round series against the Warriors Memphis series a couple years ago. And last year he dealt with a back injury, so I don't think we really got the true DeAnthony Melton. But he's a good player. And so according to Anthony Slater, the Warriors have been huge fans of Melton for years and felt like he was underutilized in Memphis. He's a 6'2", 6'3" combo guard, but he plays much bigger than that. He's got 6'8" wingspan. He made $8 million last season in the final year of a 4-year, $35 million contract. And he'll earn a raise next season with the Warriors and an opportunity to boost his value ahead of hitting free agency in 2025 if he performs well with Golden State. So he's been a valuable role player for the past 4 seasons. He's averaged 10.3 points per game, 3.9 rebounds per game, 2.7 assists per game, 1.5 steals per game, while shooting 38.3% from three-point range in 240 regular season games over that span, averaging just over 24 minutes played per game. So he's 26. The real reason he's in this kind of 1-year prove-it deal situation is he was limited to just 38 games last season with the Sixers due to a back injury. And so it's a little bit of a risky signing for Golden State. but I like this player. He's a good shooter. He's a good defender. As long as his back checks out, I think he's a player that can really help them. So now the Warriors are in this phase post Klay Thompson. Chris Paul's now in San Antonio. They couldn't trade Chris Paul, so they traded Jordan Poole for Chris Paul, and then they turned around and flipped Chris Paul to San Antonio, or waived Chris Paul, and Chris Paul signs with San Antonio. So they get nothing from Jordan Poole at all. That's a kick to the gut. And now they lose Klay Thompson, and what do they get? They get a trade exception, and maybe they can turn that trade exception into a player of some kind. We'll see. But Golden State is now in the market for probably adding a couple more pieces via free agency. Now, the one thing I think they ought to do, if you're a Warrior fan, I mean, if you look at Golden State, there are no shortcuts in pro sports. I mean, there really aren't. For every team that, where somebody buys the team, signs a bunch of veteran free agents and wins a World Series or a Super Bowl or a NBA Finals, that's not the route that most teams have to go. You've got to draft your way to a championship. And that's what the Warriors did. They drafted Steph Curry. They drafted Klay Thompson. They drafted Draymond Green. They drafted Harrison Barnes. They drafted Festus Ezeli. They drafted Trace Jackson Davis. I mean, they drafted all these guys. And all these guys they drafted were all like 20, 21. That's when you get players on the uptick, and that's when you get players who are getting better. So, I don't know. I would look to replace Klay Thompson shooting. I wanted to see them go after Isaiah Joe, but he re-signed for 4 years in OKC. Buddy Hield is an excellent perimeter shooter. He might not be bad. But the guy who I think would be a steal for Golden State in free agency is Tristan Vukovic. And the Wizards turned down a $2.42 million team option on Vukovic. So he's a Serbian center. He was a rookie in the 2023-2024 season. He was eligible for a qualifying offer, but he didn't get one ahead of Saturday's afternoon deadline. And so he's an unrestricted free agent. And, the Wizards drafted him with the 42nd pick in 2023. He spent most of the season in Serbia and then joined the Wizards in March. He started 4 of the 10 games that he played during his brief time in the NBA. He averaged 8.5 points, 3.6 rebounds in 15.3 minutes per night. But what's so intriguing about Vukovic is he's a legit 7-footer with just an absolutely beautiful shot. I mean, this guy shoots the basketball like a Klay Thompson. So obviously with Klay going out the door, you brought in Melton, but you're going to need some more offense. You're going to need some more shooting. You got Draymond Green there, who plays a little bit of stretch 5, a little bit of stretch 4, and he did have a good year shooting the 3 ball this last year, but he needs to me, Draymond is more of a defender, and he's more ideally suited playing next to a guy who can really shoot the ball. And Tristan Vukovic can, and he's only 21, and he's a little bit before his prime, but he's a little bit of an under the radar sleeper. I think this kid's going to be able to step into the NBA and contribute right away. And I think he's going to give whatever team he gets minutes for, a player that's really going to be a good player in a year. So if I'm Golden State, man, I don't know if they used the mid-level on Anthony Melton. So that's gone, or DeAnthony Melton, I should say. So they use that mid-level on him, but they still have the mini mid-level, and they could get Vukovic with the mini mid-level and use him as a big man shooting threes, stretching the floor. So that's what I want to see. Good luck to Klay Thompson in Dallas. Good luck to Chris Paul in San Antonio. I hope the Warriors can land a Lauri Markkanen. But that's the kind of piece they need. And Tristan Vukovic is kind of a poor man's Lauri Markkanen. 6'11", 7 feet, beautiful perimeter shot. I'd like to have both of them. It's a game where you got to have skill. You can add a guy like Markkanen and add a guy like Vukovic for, the mini mid-level along with DeAnthony Melton. It's not the worst off season. They didn't get anything really out of the draft except for, a big man from BC who can shoot and a backup point guard who can shoot. This would be adding two, getting Markkanen and Vucevic would be adding two more big time shooters to that lineup. All right. Hope you enjoyed the video. Give me your thoughts below in the comments below. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles for sponsoring this video. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.